All right, I see that we're live streaming, so I'm going to call the meeting to order, the Open Space Stewardship and Policies Work Group for September 1st. And I'm here, Marjorie Winters, with Susan Messino, and we have the town staff. We have Tom Hazel, Tom Tybertsky, and Tom Fitzgerald, and we have Heather Taylor with us. So let's get started. We have the minutes from the March 3rd meeting of 2021. Are there any additions, corrections, changes to that? All right, hearing none. Do we need to vote on those? All right, well, that's, all right, do we have, I mean, all right.
I move.
Move, and we don't have who do we have to second? Do the staff count as seconds? I mean, do they?
No, I think you can second your motion.
I'll second my motion, all in favor. All right, all right, well, this is a very interesting process. All right, draft open space and acquisition policy. Is there anything more that we needed to add on that one? I thought we sort of.
I had one correct. I'm sorry,
Oh,
go
good.
ahead, Susan.
All right, Susan.
Okay, so I don't have that file open right now, but I know this is the one that I kind of raised a flag about because I was on the phone and couldn't talk or whatever.
Yeah.
And the main thing that I wanted to think about is where it says in the opening paragraph about the mission, because I feel like we kind of just put that in there. And I know we haven't met for a while, but I did look up a whole bunch of other, I hear mission, I think of something that means kind of like a sort of specific, sort of holistic kind of visionary statement. So I did compile a whole bunch of mission statements from other open space commissions and kind of cobbled that to see about something simple for us. I would say if we want to have a mission statement, I don't know if we want to have it in here, we could. I could share that document. I don't know. I just felt like the mission isn't something we should just kind of like do off the cuff like that. So that was kind of my thing. And I didn't send around my draft thing that I've been cobbling together because I was afraid it would go out in the packet.
I could read where we're at this point because this is a document that I was given to work with. What we had in there was our mission is to promote social interactions, healthy living, environmental preservation, and environmental education while meeting the recreational needs of the residents of Simsbury. So that's where it's at as far as right now is concerned. And Susan, if you'd like to send me something, we could bat it back and forth. I could add it in for the meeting, and that way it could get reviewed by the full committee.
Yeah, that's so what I was thinking about that is that statement right there basically applies to those. I feel like that kind of applies to those goals that are in the 15 goals that are below the criteria.
Yep.
And so I sort of felt like that statement was more like goals. So my suggestion for this meeting is maybe we could call that our goals. And then if we wanted to have a mission, maybe that would be like a different sort of document that would relate to like the elusive green book and all that kind of stuff. That was going to be my suggestion for today to kind of address that.
Okay. I mean, I could easily change it to our goal is to promote blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I mean, just and then
those are maybe separate goals, but goals.
Yeah, that came from something Marjorie had found from another open space commission. It was in the minutes of that March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Susan, what did you find? Did you want to be able to share it? Could you share it? What you have?
I could, I think. Do I have sharing privileges?
I can give it to you.
It says I'm not shareable.
You should be.
Oh yeah, here I am. Okay, so here's the note that I wrote that I was afraid it would go out in the packet. Now I'm putting it on television. But anyway, so here's what I kind of put together. I don't know if you want to read along. Short story for a mission statement, looked up a bunch of other towns, pasted a possible option for Simsbury below in red. So this is, first were some examples, and I reviewed a bunch of these to get some ideas. A lot of them were boilerplate, so I went through a whole bunch and didn't copy in examples that were, similar. Some of them were long, some of them were short. And, I think it might be helpful if I just send this around to people because it would be difficult to read through all this,
Do
but
you want to get down to the part in red, and then we
Sure.
can do the backup when we get it?
sure. And some were short, like look at Medways here as an example of one that's very short. Pembroke's longer, some of these are like super picky things that I wouldn't consider are necessarily relevant to a mission statement.
With this document it's not necessarily the mission statement of the Open Space Committee. It's the mission statement in the acquisition of open
Correct.
space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought it was almost like a little bit confusing and maybe we should call it goals.
Mhm.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, because I think the committee has its own purpose and mission statement under the fact that it was created with a mission.
Exactly.
Well,
So
then,
So I don't know. I mean, I thought that would be an acceptable solution. Then we can kind of parse out the mission statement issue at a later point.
mhm.
So anyway, what do people think about that idea?
I think it's a good idea to change it to goal. I agree with the goal. Changing it to
Yeah,
goal.
yeah. And then we
I-
a little more
Okay.
time to think about this because I just like I felt at that meeting, I don't want to rush and make you think, okay, this is going to be our mission statement.
No, so we can work on the mission statement later and attach as a separate.
Yeah, I can send this now that I just put this on TV. I might as well just send it around.
And I think changing our mission to our goal, kind of what follows that pretty much covers what we're looking for in acquisition of open space.
Exactly.
So then
I
I think
agree.
just changing the syntax, that one word, I think will make a difference. And I could change that out simply.
Exactly, because then we'd have a conflict, like we have this mission for the acquisition, then we have a different mission for the commission or for stewardship or whatever. So it's a little bit confusing.
I'll update that.
Okay,
And I think the only other, there was like 2 more changes in that document that were important to the committee meetings. And that was following that, that line on 6 and 7. It goes after you read through the goal, the now goal. It goes to our active recreation was a big question. And it reads now, active recreation, parentheses, such as ball fields, playgrounds, hard surface courts, tracks, swimming pools, and other more intensive uses. And I think where we were kind of getting lost in the committee is the realization that when we acquire open space, it becomes our open space. And we in perpetuity are setting the rules and the regulations of what it can be used for. So to get extremely narrow on it is not the goal of that statement. It's just to give a general overview. And we always maintain the power to dictate what is active recreation. So as times change, we can change our definition. And I don't think this opens up Pandora's box in that statement. It's hitting all the normal active recreation type situations.
Yeah.
So I think that should be okay. But then again, that's up to the committee to throw a few chimes in there.
I mean, Helen was the one who asked a question about that. And I think, we're still going to pass this at the full meeting, right? So I think, so your list is like such as, right?
It's just a parenthesis. It's not saying this is exactly what it is. It's because it's in the parentheses. It's just like the statement before when it talks about passive recreation. And it just gives a few examples. That's not all the examples of passive recreation. It's not all the examples of active recreation. It's just giving a general feel because we do get to dictate what those things are and if they are appropriate to the open space at the end of the day.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see Helen's comment because she might not feel that active recreation is open space. but that'll
It
be
should be,
discussion.
it should be included because we
That's,
just got
that's all of our
Meadowwood.
land. I mean, where else would it go?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If
But
we,
I know
would-
that seemed to be her concern, but I'll let Helen speak for herself.
yeah, but that'd be no ball fields at Meadowwood. It would just never be able to
I know,
have any
unless it was
concern.
specified for that, yeah,
Yeah, we can't lock stuff up.
no. All right, so we'll pass this one on to the,
Oh, can I bring up two more things that are
yes,
just on the
I'm
last
sorry,
page?
yes.
Yeah, the
yes.
last thing under the objectives of preserving open space, there was also questions. Because we wanted to make sure that this wasn't a bullet point of orders. So I added in, you know, for open space purposes, in no particular order, the following will be considered. So I think that was another concern Helen had. And then bullet point number 9, I did add in provide sites for active recreation because I believe a word was missing there.
Yeah.
I think it just meant active. So with that, I think the document changing mission to goals should be submittable to the committee at the next meeting.
There's one unfinished phrase, Tom, on page 1, level 2 at the bottom.
Okay.
Agricultural lands for which the state holds the, I'm assuming it's deed, maybe deed
Agricultural lands.
or rights, development rights. I don't know.
Is that in the italicized or under the
Under level 2 preservation areas.
level 2? Okay, agricultural lands for which the state holds the. Did it carry over? It carried over onto the next page. Development rights. That's just got to get. That's just got to get.
Oh,
Kicked. I just got to. I'll readjust some of the spacing and get that all kicked
Okay.
up.
all right. Sorry about that.
No, no, no,
I
no.
didn't see that. All right, all right. Good, so we can pass that on to the committee and move that one forward. Okay, so the next item is the model agricultural lease RFP. Susan, did you have a chance to talk to the farmers? And did you-
Yes, so I got some feedback from a farmer and I also talked to Will O'Mara at FarmLink. So that's kind of like a regional organization that tries to connect farmers with land and helps them to lease it, et cetera. And I got to Will by reaching out to Kip Kolosenkis, who's the kind of soil scientist in the area. So bottom line, the farmer I talked to is not a farmer that rents land or is likely going to rent land. And he had some suggestions and I can't find the notes now. But interestingly, one of his suggestions matched Will's, which was to put a lot of the detailed information in the, so we have 2 documents. We have the RFP lease document. So I said to both of them that we wanted to make it, you know, not a lot of red tape, farmer friendly. We're all on board with the length of the lease and all of that. They both suggested maybe putting a lot of the more detailed stuff kind of in an appendix so it doesn't seem so kind of onerous up front. And Will suggested, a couple of the key things that Will suggested is if we want to, let's say prioritize, you know, if we know we're having a 5-year rolling lease, if we know we want to prioritize but not mandate, you know, organic or farmers pledge, put that information up front in the RFP so that farmers know what we're expecting, so that they don't spend time filling out the forms if they don't have a type of farming or whatever that would work with kind of our basic things. I asked him, so it might be simpler to finalize the RFP like today, and maybe take a little time to kind of move stuff around in the other larger document. The other things that I asked him about was, would the annual test be an, you know, onerous thing to ask for? And he said, not really, but in some cases, if the farmer might just be using it for hay or something like that, it might not really be necessary to do an annual thing. So maybe we could put in some language that there could be a, you know, you could ask for a waiver from that or whatever. The other thing he asked is, what's the expectation if there's an issue with the soil test, which we haven't really talked about. I said I thought it was kind of for us for us to have a way to just monitor what's going on our town land. We're not really expecting the farmer to be the like remediator, rehabilitator of the land necessarily. So that was what he mentioned. Marjorie, I see you're kind of thinking. I
Yeah,
see.
I'm trying to think, if they're farming properly, I would think that they are the remediators of the land.
Right, but what if they find something on the soil test that like something's low? We're not going to say, okay, now you have to do X, Y, and Z, are we?
No, no, I'm just thinking about the main thing we're looking at is the organic content, I think.
Right. Well, if you do one of these soil tests through like UConn or Logan Labs or UMass or whatever, there's several places, and maybe we should give them, you know, the information of places to go. You know, what if they pull up something like a toxin or lead or something like
I
that?
don't know that I don't know that that'll show up in a soils.
It will.
They go, I mean, they go that broad spectrum because.
Well, I've gotten soil tests done at Logan Lab for the community garden in Trinity because it's right in Hartford and we were concerned about lead. I'm trying to remember if I requested.
Probably had to request it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so it would be up to them, I guess, if there's something like some deficiency in the soil, it would benefit them to know what it is, and we're not mandating them.
No, because if they're growing certain crops, they need to have certain levels of certain things. So, but the thing that I think we'd be most concerned about is keeping up the organic matter. I mean, so many of the soils in Simsbury have been mined of their organic matter, and we want to see
Right.
the positive trend in organic matter, and that goes to the soil management. So, yeah, and I don't think digging a couple of holes, even in a hayfield, you know, going 3 or 4 places around the field, digging, combining, putting in the bucket and nailing it off. It's not that onerous. I mean, it's not that hard to get a soil sample.
Yeah, no, he said it wasn't that big of a deal,
No.
but there might be some things that they're doing that it really isn't, you know, might not be necessary.
I would think that they would, you know, if they get annoyed about it, they can always contact us, and you know, the decision could be made. But
Right. Well, maybe that's just something we can let them know when they fill it out or whatever. I was just trying to not make our documents
No.
too rigid. Oh, my internet looks like I'm getting a warning sign from my computer that it's about to crump out on me.
oh no, all
Or
right.
just my video signal is a little bit weak. So those were the other thing I asked him about was the farm stand. And that was a question that the farmer brought up too. Is that a good idea? How's that going to work? You know, sort of the logistical questions that we were thinking about. And there is language about a farm stand, and I think 35 feet from the road and adequate parking and all of that kind of stuff. And suggestion was maybe, I don't know if every one of our properties is actually suitable for a farm stand. And there's a concern that, are we setting up an expectation that you can have a farm stand on every one of our properties if we put that in the main body of the thing? And maybe that should be in the appendix, you know, if the property is suitable for a farm stand, here's the criteria, and kind of make it a little bit more kind of like not an application.
They're going to have to come to us with the request anyway, because that's a zoning regulation about those restrictions. So even if a farmer wants one, if it doesn't meet it, we probably wouldn't allow it. But I would agree with the fact that it should be a suggestion that it is a feasible option. If you would like to present it to the town, you could have a farm stand under these criteria. And it's just kind of guiding them to our zoning documents.
Should
Okay.
we say something about that?
You know, you could put in the criteria as stated, the 35 feet, adequate parking, per Simsbury zoning regulations. And that would probably make them go, okay, it's a zoning regulation. I'll go ask them if this is suitable, because they would have a zoning compliance form for us to take a look at and review and make sure they met all those criteria prior to installing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a $25 deal, so it's no big deal.
Yeah, and then related to that is, would that come under removing everything from the field every year? So that's the other issue.
No, because we allow farm stands to be out there if they meet those requirements. That's kind of why we keep them far away from the road, so that in the fall going into winter, even though you're not going to be selling something off of it, you can keep the little wagon or the little shed or whatever it is still there. I mean, it's basically an accessory structure that we deal with is a little bit differently than what we would consider an accessory structure because it is a farm stand. Believe me, they're all over town in residential areas that we don't have any clearance on. They haven't come to us, so it's just to make it happen. And we're not really sticklers about winter time. That's why 35 feet from the road, a snowplow is not going to take it out.
Okay, I see. Okay,
Oh, so-
that was the sum of the comments, really.
As far as the 5-year rolling lease in organic farming, the desire for organic farmers, they want that put up close in the up further in the document in sort of like under general information, or where do you think?
Well, the RFP is a separate, shorter document. And let me see if I can somebody put up the RFP and we could just go over that? Does anyone have that open?
I'll load it in 1 second.
That the one in the packet?
Well, if it was in the RFP, then people would kind of know from the get-go what the expectations were.
Yeah, it's in the,
Can you see my screen?
Not yet, Tom.
No?
There it goes.
Okay.
Okay.
so the RFP, I mean, the first part of it's just those, was it 3 or 4 pages that have to be filled out?
Could it be on the extension? Could it be a rolling extension after year 3 or 2? So we get a chance to know each other a little bit before, they may go first year, but then we're already giving them another 4 or 5. We're giving them another 5 after that first year. Could we say extension after 2 or extension after 3, something? So there's kind of we're happy with them, they're happy with us period before we get too deep into this.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of mixed on that.
There was a reason why there's a reason why that we went for that rolling extension, because if we got someone who was good and was investing in our properties, then
Right.
we'd want to give them the easiest route that they would know that they don't have to go through any kind of issues from year to year to year.
And no one's gonna do the things that they're going to do on a 1 or 2 year basis.
And I'm not saying they would have the initial 5, but before we commit to year 6, 7, and 8, what I'm saying is we've gotten to at least through year 2 and seen what they're doing and what their long-term plans are. And that's
I hear you. Aren't we allowed to terminate them at any time though? I mean, sort of if something's going wrong.
Yeah, that's
believe
what I was
so.
just wondering. What are our
We're out.
criteria for termination? Like, I know we said they can get out at any time, but I think we had to have some kind of unhappiness.
I don't know if that's in
You're
the.
saying we
the
give them
lease
5
document.
years.
That
You're
should
saying
be
we
not
give
in
them
the
5 years.
Yeah, it's not in the RFP.
No, it should be in the lease document though, that they sign that we have the right to terminate. I would think. Because that's a legal document that's signing the contract between the town and the applicant.
So Tom, I think I now I understand what you're saying is give them 5 years, but don't start the rolling until like year 2 or 3.
Right. Yeah. Just so we've at least had a little bit of more. 1 year, anybody can do, be on their best behavior for 1 year. But if we've got 2 years and they've got a chance to see, what we're all about, what they're all about, I just feel like a break-in period before we start giving them year 6, 7 and forward. It's just, if they're going to make an investment for a 5-year program, they've already done that in year 1 or 2.
Yeah, they've started that path.
Yeah.
What you're saying.
I just don't think we need to give the the extra years until we know them. We when Tom said before, if we know, we're going to go and choose this, we're going to have some references. That's all great, but we've all had that employee who started working for us that, and they shine bright in the interview process, but not always so well once they hit the ground. So I don't know. I just think, it'd be nice to have a little bit of a cushion there.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering about the, if we do have that right to terminate in the lease document. So we need to find that out. Because if we've got that, I mean, someone could go 2 years and be lovely, and the third year they could be a complete failure, but we've already said, yes, go ahead. So,
Right, we're still stuck with them for another 5
still
years.
stuck
At
with
that
them
point.
for another 5 years. So I think we have to look at that when we terminate.
Yeah, we'll want to make sure in that lease document that at any point in time, we have the right to terminate on grounds, whatever grounds it may be.
Mhm.
So do we have that document, the lease document? Or is this it?
I mean, the only language I see is under contract period, the town will look to initially establish a 5-year contract with possibilities to extend upon satisfactory performance of the selected applicant. I think you needed to, if you use that, you need to define what satisfactory performance is.
Yes.
And
then-
and I'm not sure what the contract is. I don't have a copy in front of me, that's for sure. I'm digging through I'm digging through my pile to try to find an old contract.
Yeah, I don't have one.
Yeah, so we need to define satisfactory and then unsatisfactory. And the process for unsatisfactory.
Yeah. Man, I'm not trying to hold this up. I just,
No,
trying
but
to think it all out.
yeah.
Right. Well, that's why I was thinking the RFP itself is a little bit simpler. We could probably get that done today and then maybe take just a little bit more time to look at the main lease document, which is
Yeah,
what
I mean,
we need, right?
yeah,
I've
you
got-
negotiate the lease.
I've got some older ones here and there is a termination section and I'm just perusing it here. Give me a minute. Okay, should the licensor unilaterally terminate the license during a growing season under this section for any reason? Those provided in 10 and 13 here under. Let me see what 10 and 13 are. Yep, there's some conditions of default in here. What I'll do is I'll try to scan some of these so we can take a look at them. I mean, I don't have them in a digital form. They came from the engineering department when I started. They do have conditions of default, like failure to make rental payments and failure to keep and perform any of the agreements, I believe this document did go through the town attorney, so I would like to get this into everybody's hands so they can take a look at it. We may end up wanting to tweak it and update it and run it past Bob DiCrescenzo again. Because these are from, I've got Hall's one here from 2016. I've got Napolitano's too from 2018. So I've got two fairly up-to-date leases. And they all seem pretty much the same start. And I'll make sure they're the same finish. And then if we see anything that pops out at us, we could always run it past the town attorney.
So I wanted to ask, how many properties do we have? I thought there was 4, but I might be wrong.
Right now, what I have is there's 3 at Barn Door Hills. There's 2 at Terry's Plain. We have not discussed the Barn Door Hill Triangle. And I believe we used to have more in the floodplain behind the sewer treatment plant. But I think because of years like this year, they're not very viable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard that too.
I think that's kind of why they went fallow, is because too many people had lost out on those parcels.
Oh.
This year you could probably grow rice though.
But on the years, it's good. It's a great soil. It's nice silt. but you can't
Unfortunately,
count
very
on it.
unfortunately very unpredictable.
Yeah, you can't count on it.
Would we be able to have a map, Tom, and a description of the acres and I don't
Yeah,
know, anything else about that?
I'm trying to piece together exactly what they are. I think I've provided some of that to Maria for an open space document, so I should be able to put most of that together. And then historically, I could look up some of the deeds and see if there's any land maps there. So they might come in a couple of different variations, but at least we'll have some idea, and I could have a little descriptor of how many acres, and then maybe with the triangle, I can make a proposal to debate in the future of its potential.
All right, so we've got the RFP is 8 pages long. And then we have the draft agricultural, we have the agricultural practices draft, or the Simsbury agricultural land use policy draft.
Yeah, I don't think there was much on the RFP that other than like the extension language. The first page, you need to update the contact info since Lena's not here anymore. I do like, forgot whose comment this is, but we should ask for references as part of that. I don't think we have to go crazy with 4 or 5, but 2 at least. Recent references. And other than that, I think that one,
Yeah,
the RFP part of it's pretty quick.
yeah. So Susan, you were saying that the 5-year rolling lease and the organic farming, that's going to be all listed in the design. Well, some of the organic farming part's going to be listed in the agricultural practices. Do you want to call it
Is
out?
that listed in the RFP preference for organic or farmer's pledge?
No, it's not. Well, it's listed in the appendix, the desired, or I guess the desired the agricultural land use policy. It's in there. Do we
Is
want?
is that part of the RFP document though, or the lease document?
It's mentioned. Yeah, it's like the addendum.
So yeah, it's the last section of this,
Okay,
which is still in draft form as well.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I think that's fine as long as that's up front. I didn't have time to go through all of this again since I spoke to him on the phone. He did say he would send some documents along in case they were helpful. I mean, I think our stuff is in pretty good shape. So unless there's something like gorgeous that we get, you know, we probably have everything covered.
Yeah, I'm looking at the last item on the last section is contract page. Maybe we can bulk that up with a little more information.
Right. Yeah.
With the information that Tom Hazel, you've got on that you're going to send us, and go through Tom, through the lawyer, town lawyer.
I think from looking at the contracts before and off of memory, I mean, it's a pretty well designed contract as far as the legalities and what they're signing up for and what we have the authority to do. And I think that's pretty much where we want to be as far as that is, but we'll take a look at it and see if there's any suggestions to tighten up any loose ends or anything.
Okay, so we could, and then we could put that in that section at the end.
Yeah, and it's worked out well throughout the years, so I don't think it's going to be a major issue. We're not like reinventing how we go about leasing agricultural lands other than updating a few things. So I think from a legal document, it's pretty tight. And then if something suggested, we can always see if it's worth it or if it's going to blow the contract apart or not.
Yeah.
You know, because there might be some things in the contract that we can't legally bind them to. That's an overstep. So I just want to make sure we don't go down that path.
Yeah, but do we want to put it in this this other appendix part that about the land use policy, so that the applicant knows
I
that,
I,
or?
I would think in the RFP, they should have all
Okay.
their knowledge up front. That's what the RFP is for.
Okay,
It's an educational document, and then it's their form to fill out to ask to be part of the program and see if they're the winning bidder. And then after that, the contract is spelling out what you're legally liable for and all that. But I think generally they should get their overview of what we're looking for in a candidate when they go to apply with their bid.
So I'm just looking, so just so that we can move this along, the section 4 desired agricultural practices, we're going to refer to the Simsbury agricultural land policies as an appendix. Do we want to put the termination release as another appendix? Do we want to include it at the bottom of the agriculture? And so, no.
Yeah, I mean, we might have a section, an appendix that, the town does reserve certain rights to terminate leases upon a failure to comply with conditions of the contract to be signed at a later date. And it's going to be spelled out in that contract. I mean, what happens if someone reads that contract?
Yeah,
and
this
they-
is only the RFP. That's
yeah,
right.
if they
Yeah.
read that contract and they don't like it and don't want to sign it, we go to bidder 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't need to put that in here.
Everything's going to be up forward all the way to the final signature. So they'll have plenty of time to back out if they don't like something. Same with us.
All right, so is there any, again, going back to the 5-year rolling lease and the organic farming is going to be in the desired agricultural practices. That will be an appendix, so that takes care of that comment. As far as the 5-year rolling lease, that's in here, I think. Contract period, a
Maybe we
5-year.
could say starting in year 3 or something. Like an initial 5-year period and a 5-year rolling lease starting at the beginning of year 3 is might be language that would address what Tom was talking about.
Although they might not want to put in do the practices that are, if they've got a 5-year plan, they're going to start doing those things on year 1 rather than on year 3 or whatever. They're not going to put in 2 years not knowing whether they're going to get the 5-year lease.
Well, they always
they would
have the
get an
5 years.
initial-
They already
5
have the
years.
5.
They
Yeah,
have-
they've already
they-
got the 5-year
But
from day
but-
1.
They do, but you're saying that we can terminate them after year 2 if they're not doing.
We could
We can
terminate them
terminate anyway. Yeah.
6 months in. We could
Well,
terminate.
yeah, maybe if we have a breach of contract thing, maybe we don't really need to do
You don't
that.
need that. I don't think we need that. Let's assume that they're going to
That's
have a
fair.
5-year plan for that land. And that will give them the chance to do the things that they need to do. And then if they're failing, we can terminate.
Yeah. I think that contract has a lot of ways out for us from day 1 to day 0, depending on how they count it, but
Yeah.
day 1 to the start to the finish of whatever project they have, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 2 years, whatever, there's enough outs. And they have protections that if we stop them halfway through a growing season for some reason, they do have reason to seek compensation in that contract. I caught that part while breezing through it. So, if they invested, $5,000 in fertilizers, and then for some reason outside of an egregious breach of contract, we say we need that land, we can't do it. They've got reasons to come and say, well, I want my money for that $5,000 worth of fertilizer because I can't use it, and now you took the land away from me. But at the same time, if they do something egregious and we find they're pouring gasoline in a pit in the middle of the field and they put $5,000 worth of fertilizer down, they don't get that $5,000 back.
Yeah.
That's kind of how the contract's reading.
So in the RFP, it says a 5-year contract. We were hoping for a 5-year rolling contract.
We could change that to a 5-year
I think that
rolling
would be better.
contract. I think that language definitely needs to change because they need to know that it's not going to be 5 years and I got to go back and bid again.
That would give them some stability.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's why we wanted the rolling contract, because the
Yeah.
way that it was written before, it sounded like every 5 years they stood a chance to lose
Right.
it to a
Yeah.
better bidder. And that's not what our intentions are.
So that's on under section 3, the initial A contract period. We need to change that. So who's going to change that?
I don't have that doc.
Um,
I don't know who had that one. I had the acquisition one.
I don't know if I
I
have the
look-
one with all the comments.
Yeah, I
Um,
did.
I only have a PDF form.
Yeah, I didn't do the comment side draft, that's for sure.
Tom Fitzgerald, do you know who has the one with the comments?
Which document?
No,
The land.
the RFP with the comments. I think we've got them as a, do we have them as a PDF or?
You have them as
It
a
might have been
PDF?
Lena, because she had her names on.
I'll go around searching our files for that.
Okay. I mean, I've got the, I'm not sure if I've got this version up on, no, I don't think I do. So if we can find the original version, or the version with the comments, then we can make the corrections. Speaking of the comments, are there any other things in the comments that we want to, I'm looking at this. One is the leasee will hold the town harmless and release the town from any claims that may arise while performing an inspection of the property. The leasee agrees to accept the premises as is. I don't have a problem with that. Does anyone have a problem with that? And it says, oh, wait a minute, I can't read this. Optional, we should include if they will be let onto the property to inspect before the agreement is signed. Is that a legal thing? Is that something the town attorney needs to look at?
I think the only
We can
legal,
let
I mean,
them
in an RFP, I mean, it's just a bid document.
Yeah, so why is that?
It's not heavily legal.
So do we need that comment in there?
I'm sorry, I was doing two things at once when you
Yeah.
read that. Now I'm not even looking.
Bottom of page 4, Tom.
Bottom of page 4. All right.
Purple.
Yeah, mine was printed out on a horrible copier, so
It's right above desired.
yeah, let me look at that because I'm not sure and I'm having a tough time. You know what? Actually, Tom Fitzgerald's packet is right here, so I could pull it up. I got two computers open because I'm in my office and all kinds of things coming out here. Tom Fitzgerald. I just saw it. Open Space Work Group.
The Word document of comments, you guys want that to the whole group or just certain people?
Or should that be in the contract?
Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. Go down here. It's my document. Sorry, it's taking a minute. All right, page 2, 3, 4. Leasee will hold town harmless and release the town from any claims made. That should be in there because of the fact that in the RFP, the proposed farmer is going to want to go out and probably inspect the property prior to putting in the bid. And I
Okay,
think that's a hold
Harmon.
harmless clause.
Okay.
So if you go out there and you twist your ankle in a rabbit hole,
Okay,
we're not liable at this point for that. I think that should say that.
okay.
Yeah, because that's just for an inspection.
And is that before the agreement is signed?
Yeah, well, that'll be, because this is just, again, the bid document. That would be before, this would be a process before the contract is finalized. So this is for someone, okay, Tom Taberski, Tom Fitzgerald, and me want to go bid on this property. We're going to go all walk it at different times. When we're walking it, we hold the town harmless for any injury that we.
Yeah, I'm just commenting because the comment says, should we include that they will be allowed to do this before the agreement is signed? Inspect
Yeah,
before the
yeah.
agreement.
Yeah, I think so.
So that should be altered.
Yeah, Leasee agrees to accept the premises as. Yeah, I think that comment should be added.
Okay. And then the next page on the submission and deadline. Are there additional documents that we are seeking in addition to the application, such as references or a letter of transmission? If so, we should specify. Is that specified in here? That what we want?
I think we're asking for most everything that we would need for an
Yeah.
agricultural bid, you know? I mean, we're asking for references, we're asking for their farming practice.
Where are the references?
Certainly think on the next line, you should say a town manager's office rather than Olena.
Okay, and once Tom has that document, who's gonna make the changes? Tom, you know who it should go to, Tom Hazel, you know it should go to, can you make the changes on that? I don't know, or you want to send it to me, if someone wants to send it to me, I'll make the changes, but I don't know who.
I don't have the document, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get it to you in Word form. I'm sure Olena was the one working on it,
So
so.
it should be, it should go to, town manager.
Yeah, because it says
Yeah,
attached
it'll go to-
electronically to
It'll
town
go to
manager's
our
office.
office, and I believe that I just emailed it to all of you, so you should have it.
Okay,
Yeah, no, I think the proposal is the proposal. It should, if there's any documents that we require, if we get seriously poor bid documents, missing stuff, I think we've already asked for a significant amount of information in the bid document to understand what they plan to do
yeah,
and what we're getting into. Well,
I just
and
looked,
I might, in the next comment, I don't know if our new intern has the fillable PDF skills. I do not have that ability in my office. We do have some people in my office to change this over to a fillable PDF.
otherwise they just print it out and type it up, write
Yeah.
it in and,
And honestly, to everybody, and the only reason why I'm hesitant, and when you say, do you want to change it or do that, we're still without a land use specialist. We're short staffed. So like converting this to a PDF document, if we had our administrative assistant in our office, she'd be able to bang that out in 3 minutes. But having Laura find the time or something like that is a little bit difficult for us.
I mean, it's not that much of a hardship to print it out and fill it in by hand, so,
Yeah, we just like the convenience if we could.
yeah. And when we get a person to do it, we can switch over.
And from quite honestly, having dealt with Darren Hall, sometimes the handwriting is hieroglyphic. So having a fillable PDF does have its upsides.
But until we have that skill set to do it, we can.
Yeah. Oh yeah, by all means.
Yeah.
I think that can be done before we even send it out. It could be just a last minute.
Yeah.
That's a technical thing.
All right, so how about, so you've sent me the thing, I will go over, and then I will send it back to you, Tom, to see if I'm on the right track from what I've written down, and send that back.
Yeah, just highlight whatever changes you made and we'll take a look at it. And
Okay,
I don't
and
think
then-
it'll be a major thing.
and then, to move it forward, can we send it back to committee? Do we have to have another meeting before we go back to the full working group, full group, open space committee, or do we, or are we fine with it as it is so that we can send it, once we make those corrections, to send it to to bring it up at the next meeting?
I would think, I think with those changes, I mean, we've punted this around long enough. I think
Thank
we've
you.
pretty much got it over the line.
Excellent. All right. So I will try to make those changes in the next couple of days and get that back to you. And Tom, if you see something wrong about who I've said needs to be electronically sent to or mailed to, you'll make those corrections.
We'll all take a look at it.
Okay, good. All right. Phew. All right. Hopefully we can get this one passed on.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments? Any other things we need to talk about?
I was just going to say, if we do get documents from FarmLink, I think we can kind of look at those at our leisure and see if we want to, integrate or update or streamline or whatever. And we don't, that's not an urgent issue right now that we have this kind of sorted out.
Okay, good. All right. And then do we want to think about what we need to work on next? And that's not on our agenda. Yes, Susan?
Well, I have a long list of things. But, I had, so one of the things that is on the list is, identifying a community group like, stewards or conservation rangers, and you had provided that example of the Ridgefield Conservation Rangers. And I actually had reached out to them and got an email back. I haven't connected with them yet. And I re-engaged with Troop 76, who said they would be the Rangers or whatever for Belden. So I kind of wanted to make that like a model situation for getting that set up. So that was something I wanted to put on the agenda to talk about. And actually, it's sort of a perfect case where there's also examples of the other two things that I want to put on our agenda, which are, what is kind of our sort of policies or, public education about encroachment and dumping. So just to get more kind of public facing information. Oops, my internet's getting crappy. Pardon me. Information to say that that's not okay. And here's our, language around it, etc. Get all that in one place. So there'd be the Rangers, the encroachment, the dumping. And then the other things that I wanted to put on my list are sort of best practices for, homeowners or anybody regarding, maintaining, a healthy environment in terms of, not dumping stuff, non-point source solution that gets in, not non-point source pollution that gets into the environment, leaving your super bright lights on all night, which is, very harmful to insects, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of a longer term thing that I thought we could kind of pull together like a white sheet or something like that.
And some of those we should be putting on also on the conservation website. So that would be good. I'd like to also include the mowing practices for our meadows.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. That kind
That
of,
one off the list.
yeah, super simple stuff. I think we could start to just kind of chip through these things. And then what I'd ultimately like to do is have kind of a little, repository kind of toolkit on the open space site about this kind of stuff for people who want information. They can go and have kind of one-stop shopping about that sort of stuff. So that's my grand vision.
All right, good. All right. So I think we've gone through a lot. We'll try to get that ag lease policy, ag lease and policy to the RFP to the Open Space Committee, and we're good to go. So anything else? All right. Do we have a motion for to adjourn?